Hello, I'm Toycat, and for years the Cave update has been the most hyped update amongst the community, which is why when it was actually announced in late 2020, it was the biggest win Mojang could have had as a company, which is why it's so weird that when you fast forward to just a few weeks before the release, the fanbase has never been less excited for an upcoming major update. And so just how did Minecraft ruin the biggest slam dunk in history is the question I wanted to answer in today's video, because I personally love the vanilla Minecraft game. I love the updates that it receives, even the small ones, and I think it's been interesting to see the resentment amongst this one brew for so long until it finally reached a boil just a few weeks ago. But let's start with the simple, basic thing that people were initially upset about, and that is the scope. So the scope of a cave update was always going to be weird, and the scope of a caves and cliffs update was always going to be even weirder, but by leaving it open-ended, there was always going to be a bigger version of the cave update, this massive dream that we've had as a community, in people's minds than could ever exist in reality. I mean, after all, there have been tons of mods that add hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of brand new ores and biomes, and obviously no official Minecraft update could ever keep up with that, but I really do think the bigger problem, rather than lack of content, is just kind of not defining very clearly how much there would be. I mean, after all, when underground biomes were announced to be finally coming to Minecraft, and then they showed us, 3 example biomes, it seemed as though this was just the tip of the iceberg with regards to that. However, what it actually was this was just going to be all of the underground biomes. There's going to be your normal underground, which exists right now, there's going to be the lush caves, there's going to be the dripstone caves, and there's going to be the deep dark, eventually, maybe. We haven't seen that in actual snapshots yet, but those 3 biomes that were underground are the only biomes that are being added to Minecraft. And I think that initial confusion is not just limited to biomes, it's limited to pretty much everything else. It was quite a while into the cave update that we realized there would only be one brand new ore, the copper ore, the one that was announced at Minecon Live in 2020. It was a while into the cave update before we realized there weren't going to be brand new mobs outside of the warden, and I guess technically the glow squid is a cave mob, you could argue, but the point is this update was going to be this huge thing in people's heads, and it would have been fine if they'd have limited the expectations immediately, but instead it seemed more like it was just a teaser of more things to come. And this is the problem with almost everything in life. When you build up your expectations too much, you build this giant picture in your head, even when you get something that's really great, if it doesn't compare to your expectations, that's when bad things can happen. Likewise, if you build your expectations super small, you could say if you keep your expectations tiny, then of course you're less likely to be whiny. But a better way to phrase this one would perhaps be the common business phrase, which is that you want to under-promise and over-deliver. You don't promise things unless you absolutely have to, and you want to over-deliver what you give to people. Even when you promise the exact amount that you do deliver, it's going to be slightly disappointing if you have a track record of over-delivering, perhaps you could say. So maybe this one you can pin onto the Minecraft community as a whole, because some people really don't understand that the vanilla Minecraft game is not the place where you add 300 underground biomes, 270 different varieties of underground mob, and etc, but instead having just 4 underground biomes, 1 new mob, 1 new ore, and then some tertiary features was always going to be a bit underwhelming until you realize just how well polished they are. And so that brings us nicely into the second point of this. Because the thing that Mojang has always delivered on much better than any mod ever can, the thing that makes the vanilla game something that everyone is excited for, even people playing crazy modified versions by themselves, is that it is all very well polished and all very well considered in the context of the base game. In fact, I would say they almost overpressure themselves to do this to the max, but we get some very interesting things as a result of this. I think you could argue that the new village trading mechanics would have taken a long time to come up with, but are much better than the old ones from a thematic sense as well as from a gameplay perspective. It's now a major part of Minecraft. They really took that part of the game and made it a lot better, so of course they're going to be able to do this to the caves, right? They're going to be able to make the caves feel much more thematic, and exploring and getting ingredients is going to feel wonderful. And yeah, there are some really nicely polished features that are going to be coming in 1.17. I really like the tinted glass, for instance, which is taking a glass surrounded by amethyst shard and then getting this glass that doesn't allow light in or out. it's a really interesting idea because that's how tinting works. It's a fun mechanic that's going to allow people to make farms. It's very exciting. Same with the amethyst geodes. You're going to randomly be digging under the ground and find a lot of new blocks first of all, but second of all, you're going to find the source of the amethyst, which you can use for your tinted glass or your telescopes or your whatever else, and it's going to make mining just that little bit more exciting. These are well-polished, great features that I'm excited to have in the game. However, the problem is most of this update, because of the nature of caves and cliffs, is going to rely on the brand new cave and cliff generation, which of course means that if you want to have a well-polished deep slate block and all of the variations that are going to be coming along with that, if you want to have well-polished lush cave blocks, the moss, the azalea trees, etc., I think if you want to call these blocks well-polished for the vanilla game experience, i.e. playing in survival, they need to not only exist once you place them, but they need to have a fun thematic way that you find them. I mean, dripstone being found inside of a dripstone cave, yeah, that's going to be a great thing for you to harvest while you're there. Finding the deep slate while you're super low down is a really fun little story of how deep down you went to mine for these blocks, and indeed all of the ore blocks that come along with deep slate. Even the lush cave things, like when you find mossy stones and azaleas and you take them away from that biome, that is a part of the game. And a key part of any block being polished is being able to find it in its natural place, and all of the natural places for pretty much every block in 1.17, with very few exceptions, like the amethyst and the goat, I guess. Yeah, the amethyst and goats, they're going to be working perfectly as intended. However, the vast majority of what's coming in 1.17 is kind of just a preview version of it. It is just going to be a way to explore those features if you want to in survival, and that to me is the biggest problem with the splitting of this update. So unlike most people in the Minecraft community who will say, oh yeah, I'm perfectly happy with everything that comes out, or no, they should deliver everything all the time right now, I think it is entirely unrealistic to expect in the exact same time frame that they're delivering 1.17 to have 1.18, because obviously if that's your logic, you could just say, I want an update that has 50 updates worth of content and I want it tomorrow. That's an expectation you can have, but it is unrealistic to expect it to be fulfilled. However, something I do think is that when you look at 1.17 and 1.18, when you look at the fact that they have to split it in two for the reasons they gave, it's going to be a lot more challenging to deliver those features. It's going to take more time to bring in new cave and cliff generation, up to 6 months they seem to hint. Okay, sure, when you bring in the fact that a lot of Mojang are dealing with serious mental health issues, we are dealing with, as a society, some of the biggest mental health issues, because did you know that lots of places around the world, including where both the Mojang studios are, have basically said that, you know what, physical health is all that matters. There's no such thing as mental health, and we have the laws and the policies to prove that. Well, there is a serious crisis going on, and in the Mojang studios, not to mention that there obviously is the physical health side of this as well. I mean, I'm sure COVID is lowering the staffing numbers and making it harder to work together. There are definitely reasons for this to slow down. However, slowing down and splitting are entirely different decisions, and I really can't wrap my head around any good just pure business reason for splitting the update in two, because this first half of the update is going to include all of the features mostly, minus the warden and minus the deep dive, the biomes themselves and the new generation basically, but it's not going to provide the context for them. It's going to provide the opportunity to say Caves and Cliffs is out, and I'm sure there's a ton of exciting trailers and marketing material, but then when you play the game, it's not going to feel like they're there. As a survival player, I know that I can go to an abandoned mineshaft chest and I can find glow berries. That's apparently a new thing. As a survival player, I know that I can trade with the Wandering Trader because he's been to these new biomes that don't exist yet. I also know that I can go into an abandoned shipwreck and I can find moss, and I can then bone mill the moss, and I can find all of those features. I know these things, and I'm excited to find them in my survival world. However, those aren't necessarily well-polished features like I was mentioning before. Those are kind of quirky, janky features that just kind of exist. Most Minecraft players will be so excited when they hear about the Caves and Cliffs update. It's finally out. I'm in the first part of it, and I'm going to go look at a mountain and see how much it's changed. The mountains. I guess, yeah, they said something about splitting of the update. So I guess if the cliffs aren't here, I guess the caves must be new and exciting. Then they get so hyped and they start digging down below the ground. And what do they find down there? The caves look really similar. I mean, every now and then you find these dripstone blocks in the corners, or you find a patch of deep slate, and if you're really lucky, you'll find an amethyst geode and some copper ore, but everything is roughly how it was before. It feels as though this is going to be the norm that the community gets used to, and then in 6 months' time, assuming that second part isn't delayed, in 6 months' time, there will be all of the context that makes these features wonderful and exciting. I think what makes twisting vines such an exciting feature, to go back to the Never update, is not just the fact that you can take one twisting vine, you can bone meal it, and then you can survive any fall from any height straight on top of it. That's exciting by itself, don't get me wrong, but it's really exciting knowing that if you want some of these, or you want any of the other super warped features that are super bright blue, you have to go to your Nether, you have to find the specific place for them. That's what polishes, right? It's encouraging you to do interesting things to get the interesting things that you want. It's encouraging, both sides of this equation, whereas for 6 months or so, Minecraft is going to have half a cave update, and you're going to be encouraged to do all sorts of weird things that you couldn't possibly know about Googling. And I'm sure watching YouTube videos, there's no doubt in my mind that there's going to be a lot more people needing to watch things to learn about all these features, which I would be lying if I said I didn't benefit from in at least some way. However, I think the problem is that there's going to be a version of Minecraft that exists for 6 months before being basically entirely replaced. They're going to be subsuming all of this knowledge in the future, and it's an interesting thought because, of course, this happens all the time. Anything you learned prior to 1.7 is going to change after all of the biomes change. Yeah, anything you learned about the Nether prior to the Nether update is now useless. However, this is stuff that they're putting into the game that they're then intentionally making different and, replacing your knowledge for in 6 months. And I guess, honestly, I see this as kind of an experiment. I see this as being a potential big opportunity because my impression as someone who is very deep into these updates is this is confusing. And of course, people don't like what they see as different. However, I see this as potentially being an opportunity in the future, and allow me to elaborate by sharing that with you. So the opportunity here is kind of clear, right? Every Minecraft update has been getting really big recently, and when they try to make small themed Minecraft updates, i.e. the Buzzy Bees update, it just doesn't have as much traction. People like big features being overhauled and redone and made exciting, etc. And so this is their experiment to see for sure, if anything else, can you release half a full Minecraft update and get people more excited than if you release a full half Minecraft update? The Buzzy Bees update or the World of Colors update, they were just small little features that didn't really have the wider context till much later. So maybe, releasing half of a full major update is going to be much more exciting because as a community, it's clear that Minecraft players want to see more than one update every 18 months or so, or one update every year even. The Minecraft community wants to see more Minecraft content, but obviously they're limited in how much they can put out, so why not start putting it out twice a year? After the Cave Update Part 1 in summer of 2021, and then the Cave Update Part 2 in winter of 2021, maybe there could be the next update. We'll just imagine for now it's the End Update, which could come out with the End Update Part 1 in summer and the End Update Part 2. This could resolve a lot of the issues around mental health and the big burden of a huge update. I mean, I can speak personally to the idea of this giant, when you have a big expectation on you, it's so much harder to work towards it than just knowing that there's something reasonable expected. So maybe just shipping a couple of updates a year, in addition to all of the other ones that they ship every month or two, but by making it so that every update becomes 2 sub-updates, they can obviously not only enjoy the business benefits, which I'm sure are no doubt huge. Every time there's a Minecraft update, more people buy Minecraft, and more people who are playing Minecraft will then check out all of the other little side products, whether it's realms or whether it's the marketplace on Bedrock. There is a direct financial incentive to put out more updates, but also as a community, we can start to enjoy the features in 1.17, and that can help to shift the feedback for 1.18. A big problem that I've seen non-stop over the snapshot period, let's be honest, all YouTubers are guilty of it, I'm sure I am myself as well, is we'll talk about the features having looked around at them in creative for 15 minutes, or if you're doing your due diligence, you'll play some survival, but maybe, just maybe, it's possible that by playing with actual finished features that you can trust on your actual survival worlds that you don't have corrupt because of some random bug in a snapshot or a beta, by playing with these features in a real survival, then we'll be able to give better feedback on what's happening. If you really do think the tinted glass is too dark or too light or whatever else, then you could actually give that feedback without having just looked at it for a few seconds, actually having experienced it for a while. If you think that copper ore is slightly too common and needs a better mining mining strategy, or raw ore is, is still not fixing the problem of mining, you could fix these, there's, for instance, the new veins of 10,000 blocks. They seem insane, but they're not actually that common. So I think there is potentially an opportunity to splitting the update in two, and that's what brings me into my big conclusion on all of this. Because the prevailing winds on YouTube are that Mojang has ruined the cave update, or at the very least delayed it by stealth, or at the very least done something very wrong. And I think that there's definitely an element of, if your community believes something, it is true. It doesn't matter whether objectively this is some great decision, if no one sees it as a great decision, because there's 200 million Minecraft players who just want a better game to play, right? And you can't fault them for wanting that. However, I do think there is actually quite some potential here. I think that even though this is the weirdest update, because the big thing about vanilla is meant to be that it is a well scoped out, well polished, well crafted thing, and now we're seeing some not necessarily perfectly crafted things. We're going to see how the community reacts to that. Is it going to be a big win? Do we enjoy this so much that it doesn't really matter? In fact, do we enjoy this so much that in 6 months, when it changes to how it was meant to be, with the brand new caves and the brand new cliffs, we actually don't care, and the second half of the update comes out and it's not even a big deal? I genuinely don't know the answers to these questions. It's also possible that they intend to add lots of brand new features that second half and make it all worth our while, and I think that for now, the only thing to say is that 1.17 is coming out soon. It's coming out a lot sooner than it would have with all of those features, and so my personal thing here is a wait-and-see attitude. Is this going to be positive for Mojang? Lots, in fact, the majority of business decisions they've made for the last very long time have gone the wrong way, but I always am optimistic. I'm thinking maybe, just maybe, this is the one that sticks, and so that's something I'm incredibly excited for. By the way, you know what excites me more? Not dying in a house fire. Did you know greater than 99% of house fires happen to people who aren't subscribed to the IBX Toycat YouTube channel? Also, something statistics about all of you not being subscribed, and wow, don't you want to subscribe so that number goes up? No, you don't? Okay, well, I just hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you have a nice day, and I look forward to seeing you for 1.17, because I'm gonna try and go into this with the most positive vibes I can, and I hope that you're willing to join me in the next couple of weeks. I mean, not that you have much choice. Like, how are you going to find out how to get all those new lush cave blocks? Otherwise, you're not going to be able to. You have to watch YouTube videos. Obviously, I'm kidding, but I hope you all enjoyed, because I'll see you next time. Bye.